Welcome back. You're watching Cheche with today's guest, Senate Speaker Ekwe Ethuro. And you are making the point throughout the program that you're here because it's Parliament Week. One of our viewers says, does the Senate make any difference in Kenya? If it isn't there, would Kenyans agitate for its existence? And this is, I believe, what you're trying to address, this perception, this negative perception towards Parliament and the Senate specifically. What is this Parliament Week supposed to achieve that it didn't do last year?
Thank you, Udwak. I thought that's where we have to begin. But better late than never. What we decided as the leadership of Parliament is that we open up Parliament to the public. This is the second time that we are now celebrating what we call the Parliament Week. The theme of this particular year is about public participation in governance, opportunities and challenges. Basically, we are saying this is your institution. All sovereign power is derived from the people, and we are only exercising it on the basis of delegated, on delegated basis. So it's good once in a while the Kenyan public can also come and basically appreciate the precincts of Parliament. On Monday we had we call it a public lecture, but we did not lecture. We had actually had a good discussion with the students and the faculty on what Parliament does, especially in areas of public participation. Yesterday, and I think this goes very well with what Mutegi Njau asked about some of our capacity. I mentioned about research. Yesterday we did what we call the Center for Parliamentary Studies official opening. It has been in existence for a while now, and we are positioning ourselves as an institution, in the premier institution in the East African community that can provide legislative. We have had last week visitors from Tanzania Parliament, and so these are all opportunities to give more capacity, to give more knowledge to the institution of Parliament as well as to the public. Tomorrow,
I'll stop you right there, just because we're running out of time. And what I'd like our viewers to do would be to send their thoughts on how Parliament is performing, because we vest sovereignty in you. You exercise it on our behalf.
Yes.
So it would be helpful to know whether you believe that Parliament is doing well in exercising that sovereignty on your behalf. Our SMS number is 22422. You were saying, sir?
Yes, so let me just conclude. Tomorrow morning we have a game between Parliament and the Nairobi City County, and Friday, which I think is kind of crowning it all, there will be an open forum. You can walk in Parliament, including the chamber. You can sit on a favorite seat of your legislator. And so it's just ask all the questions. You will have people to respond to some of those issues.
Do you measure the performance of this? Exactly. Did you track it? Yes.
How do you monitor? How do you evaluate whether people's perception will improve?
We are not a corporate body really interested in branding or marketing ourselves per se.
But then why are you doing this?
It's a democratic institution, because within, if you read the Constitution, we have about public participation. It's one of our national value. So we're just doing a bit as a Parliament for you to come.
But then you might be engaging in an exercise of futility.
It is not, because people have been coming.
People have been coming, but do you have more people than you had last year?
Do you have
less?
In KU, we had a sitting capacity of over 4,000 people.
Compared to what last year?
I will not check
but I guess what Udwak is saying is that you cannot dismiss the element of public perception, because of course, even though it's a democracy institution, it's rendering a service, whether it's a representation or legislation, whatever it is. That service is being consumed by Kenyans, and you ought to be concerned whether people are satisfied. Other than through the 5-year season or elections, people need to know, are we happy? And there's a lot of disgruntlement out here. You should be able to consume that.
That's why the people call you MPs.
I do not dismiss. I mean, we are doing it because of we want to engage with the public. We want the public to engage with us. We had a media briefing last week, so I'm not dismissing that. What I was dismissing is this crave to quantify things. You know, this is more qualitative.
But then how do you measure yourself?
This is more qualitative.
But even quality you measure.
I am a trained scientist, by the way, so
quality
I know
you measure,
which methodologies to use.
Right.
So we are not interested in, you know, quantifying things. We are interested in the qualitative nature of this particular business, that we are creating opportunities to
But surely your clients should be the ones giving you the feedback on the quality of your service.
Precisely. There are many ways in which they do so. In the same fora, elsewhere, in public barazas, we have even Ipsos. I mean, you know, they conduct all these things.
Yes, and I think you should use Ipsos next year. This is a recommendation to speak.
Are you an agent of Ipsos?
No.
Or any other research
because we would
firm,
like to know, you're spending quite a bit of money on this.
The public.
So we'd like to know that every year since you've done this, your public perception has improved or degraded as a result of this, that, or the other. And then that helps you as an institution strengthen the links you have.
A good suggestion. I don't know whether you can recommend a particular agency to do so. But I think
we already did.
The idea is good that, you know, this is the second year.
Yeah.
You know, you want to give it a bit of time so that you cannot be able to say, you know, we in our kind of work situation, we borrow from like the life of you know, CIC 5 years, Transition Authority 3 years. So already there is a framework in which we find it convenient to conduct certain mid-term reviews.
Okay, this is what some of our viewers have said. Our government is not sincere, and they really stayed with the issue of the teachers' wages. Our government is not sincere because if they really wanted to pay teachers, it would have called not the unions and Treasury to sit and reason together. That came from Elizabeth in Nairobi. There is huge waste in counties, heads of departments lying idle in their formerly state offices, being undermined by the so-called governors and executives who lack content. Lots of job duplication. That's Joy in Muranga. There is some respite from you coming from Koske in Nakuru. I like the sobriety with which the speaker is handling the talk show. The SRC began the harmonization of salaries quite well. However, is it not true that the rain began beating us soon after the two parliaments had their salaries harmonized? What's coming out of this conversation is a lack of liberal minds in our leadership. No one seems ready to advise the president otherwise. Can Ethuro address what it takes to reduce the number of counties from the current 47 to 7? We have the feeling that we can reduce on wage bill and get surplus money for teachers and others. And that came from Lillian. Is that possible? There's a lot of criticism, actually, negativity.
I'm particular about the reduction in the counties and representation, which is at the core of your own existence.
Yeah.
I want to appreciate the views from Kenyans. Of course, the negativity is because they have an opportunity to raise their concerns. You don't expect them to start praise and
worship
session. I don't think that is a job in public service. In public service, that usually people want a bit more, so that is expected. Some of the issue, one is just because I think Kenyans must appreciate the position I've taken as an individual is that sometimes contributing to this public discourse in an irresponsible manner can only make things worse. And especially if you are privileged enough to hold a certain position and you have certain opportunities to make your views known to the relevant institutions. I think that is where I should be putting more emphasis than just trying to encourage a debate that is going nowhere. Two, some of the concerns like the number of counties and the rest is in the Constitution. We cannot just do it ourselves. They need to be it will require another constitutional amendment. But let me tell you, because one thing I believe in this one, because as a leader, there's a reason I went to Parliament, and one of it is that devolution and the kind of counties you are talking about. Because I've had some of those proposals even from some members of Parliament. You know, a county like Lamu, a county like Turkana, a county like Marsabit, the three counties in the former northeastern province. Without this devolution we are talking about, you don't know this country. This country has worked on the basis of 20% of its productive land in the last 50 years, and that we just forgot the rest of the nation, and we still want to call ourselves a country. It's unacceptable. And I think what we did, and this is not even a new proposition I'm making. What Kenyans did in the Constitution of 2010 was actually to correct those kind of anomaly. Yeah. I think what we have are challenges. This implementation, Mr. Makali, is now we're in the 3rd year. Let's give it a bit of time. And really see, because now you have institutions like SRC that are still harmonizing even these payments. Is it a matter of numbers, or is it a matter of the salaries we pay, which is an issue addressed earlier?
Right, very quickly, because we've got to...
I think the point is there are 2 levels. One is what we are calling overrepresentation. Too many paid leaders or elective officers. And 2, too many levels of government which come with employees and costs which need to be scaled down. It is not about devolving the resources to the counties. That needs to be. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We can have the same amount of money sent to those former northeastern districts, the same amount, but with lesser structures eating up the resources in the same place. That's where really it cuts.
My challenge to you is, on what basis are you making that kind of recommendation? I am saying that's a recommendation you can entertain, but let's give it time.
Okay.
You remember there was some proposal that came, audit the economic impact of the Constitution. I mean, there are people here who do not want the revolution. So they will use all manner of excuses, including your arguments, to try to do away with what Kenyans wanted.
The counties have said they are objecting to this new procurement system, which is transparent. If missed, they say it's not working. And I think that's a way of wanting to do Magando.
Good observation. I think, to me, the only argument that they can entertain with their counties, one is, I'm glad actually the Council of Governors came out very strongly on that particular matter. To me, the counter argument would be, let's make sure that the systems are actually working. But you cannot tell us you can do away with a system that is designed to make it more transparent and accountable.
Okay, very quickly, because we've got to wind up. Ochata and Migori. Speaker Ethuro, as citizens were concerned about the shooting down motions and bills that are good for the public because of the tyranny of numbers. And I think the corollary to that is also the fact that the delay in the passage of legislation between both houses.
Unless maybe the specific concerns are made. I mean, there is people vote according, members vote according to...
What do you have in your folder? Did you not come with bills that you have sent to the National Assembly that are languishing there?
I think the legislative process is more elaborate than before. One thing I can speak for my house is that we give priorities to the bills that have been forwarded from the National Assembly. We expedite that process. In fact, if you look at the order paper, in the ranking of the bills, we definitely give the bills referred to. We have had cases, of course, of mediation, and we have always both houses have appointed members to mediation committees, and actually they have agreed most of the times.
Okay, and how does that process work?
Sometimes I think that's a bit, there is a mindset out there, again, which to me is one of those mindsets that is stuck in the past, that, this process stalls.
I'm really waiting to hear the Speaker make a confession about things which he finds, since these 2 years down the line, may not be right or can be done better or need amendment, even if it means constitutional amendments. We have had the Senate whining about lack of power and being undermined and so forth, and this whole notion that it actually ought to be properly the upper house with certain veto powers or legislative powers. Those things, don't you think they need to be done in the interest of advancing our country's democracy and removing these institutional conflicts between the National Assembly and Senate?
You remember the Lord Jesus said it, you have said it.
We don't want to hear it from the Lord.
Well, actually, I'll allow you that as your
want the Lord Speaker to identify some areas.
Sir, I'll allow you that in your final remarks, because we've got to wind up. And actually, David, you make the point that I was going to come to you as a panelist. It's Parliament Week. We've made the point that you've got to measure the feedback from your clients.
I take that one.
Right.
Yes.
And so, in your opinion, do you believe that the level of service from Parliament as an institution, from the Senate as a house, has improved in the last year since we last had this conversation?
I think...
No, the panel, and then I'll give you the final word.
I'm unable to say whether it has or not. And that is part of the challenge the Speaker ought to carry home with. We are unable to tell, place, position the functioning, improvement in that functioning of the Senate. Basically because, the roles they are doing, as we said, are rather confusing, amorphous sometimes, and not clearly cut out. So as to say, this is your piece, deliver it, and we can measure you. Because of that lack of clarity, which I'm saying, we need to think hard and be courageous enough to say, these things were not crafted well, can we re-engineer them? Rather than everybody saying we can carry on, we are still too young, it's only 1 year, 2 years. I mean,
and there was that
can be
provided
noticeable
during
in
the
a week,
constitution
that
making.
they are not functional.
Mutegi?
I think they are doing their own. They are effective. They are like a growing child, fall and come up. I think we need to give them time. We are learning, all of us. I think we have to respect institutions, and if we do that, then we'll move forward.
Okay. So your final thoughts, speaking particularly to David's suggestions of courage in defining your role a bit more clearly.
I think I started by not liking the panel, but I think in conclusion, I think I like you. First, I must I must admit that we started badly in terms of relations in a bicameral parliament. That has been work in progress. It is improving, but of course, like any other thing, the largest room is room for improvement. There is a lot more, definitely, that needs to be done and could be done. And I think that's why the observation by Mutegi in terms of we want the institutions to play out. We still have a bit of, maybe the timing is not enough for us to reach those conclusive recommendations as Mr. Makali is recommending. And I can assure you that if there is one thing I have in plenty is courage. A time will come soon when we'll tell Kenyans what we think needs to be fixed.
Will we see the Senate then?
And I hope you'll give us this opportunity. Will continue availing us this opportunity to prosecute that matter.
But will we then see you passing legislation, for instance, to strengthen your role, your powers? Will we see that happen?
Yes. And not only ours, county assemblies, county governments, national government. Yes.
Right. So our time is up, and we thank you for your time on Cheche this morning, Speaker Ekwe Ethuro. We thank you also for listening and engaging with us. We thank our panelists, Mutegi Njau and David Makali. My name is Udwa Kamimo. You've been watching Cheche on Citizen TV. See you next week.